is up, everybody? I'm gonna make a short video real quick, well, short-ish video of the new bow that I got. Sorry if it bores you, but I think this stuff's pretty cool and maybe you do too. So get down to it. This is a 2020 PSE Evo NTN 33. Good night. So basically this is PSE's flagship from last year, and it was designed by Olympic archer John Dudley and owner of Knock On TV or Knock On Nation or whatever you want to call it. Highly recommend his content. Great guy, great teacher, just cool guy all around. So I am making a video from transitioning from Mathews, well, really from a Hoyt to a Mathews to this, and kind of doing a comparison and a why I swapped. The Vertix was great. The Vertix was a great bow. I love that bow. It was fast. It was pretty cool to shoot. It was dead in the hand. It was quiet. Everything is advertised with Mathews. The only thing that I did not like about them was the yoke system on them. Being so easy to torque Mathews bows left and right, and not really having, I guess it's more or less of a, I don't know how to say it if I'm without whining or anything, but it took me a long time to get used to the torquing, and I still haven't really got used to the Mathews torque system, torque in the handle and the grip, and it was kind of aggravating, and it was very frustrating because I shoot a lot, shoot long distance, and it got aggravating for a while. So this one is a little bit different. It's also more forgiving, so it's going to be easier to hold. The grip is different, which right now I do not have a grip on it. It's just a riser, which is pretty cool. So yeah, that was one of the reasons. Weight was kind of another reason a little bit, because Mathews are heavy, and this one is a little bit lighter, not much, but enough to feel a difference. The differences between this one and the Vertix, because comparing it to my Power Max is kind of unfair, because the Power Max isn't necessarily a flagship bow for Hoyt or anything. Basically this is a 33-inch axle to axle, where my Vertix was 30, so it's going to be a little bit more forgiving. And its actual length, the brace height for my Vertix was 6 inches. This is 7. I think there are some Mathews out there that have a 7-inch brace height. I want to say the Z7 I think has a 7-inch brace height. IBO on the Vertix, I believe, was like in the I want to say it was in the 330s, 340s. This is 322, and again, the whole IBO concept of, you know, this bow is the fastest bow ever made or whatever. I have little tiny T-Rex arms and my vertically challenged self, so I will never ever reach the top end of IBO bows. It just is what it is, so I'm not necessarily worried about speed. This bow is going to be slower than the Vertix, just by design and all that, but it's not going to be by much, because the cam system on these Evos is very efficient and should be very good for what I'm wanting to do. The other differences on this is a few like small little like bells and whistles, like you can put an actual limb, like you can get a stand for this to where if you wanted to blind hunt, that it will sit down on the ground like this. You won't have to hang it up or anything. I don't necessarily hunt from the ground very much, but I can see me shooting in the backyard or shooting somewhere else if I needed to set my bow down and I have nowhere to hang it. Instead of laying it on the ground, you can just, you know, put it on its kickstand. There's a couple of, you know, little things, like you have this, it's a direct drive system down to your cable splitter down here, where you could put your rest. If you have a limb driven rest or something like that, you could tie it here. Right now this has a QAD Hunter on it, so I'm probably gonna end up switching that at some point. So yeah, like the bow a lot. Really cool to shoot. The cons of this bow versus the Mathews. This does have a little bit more hand shock in it than the Mathews does. I can definitely feel a little bit of a difference in that. It's not so much where it's like I feel like I'm hitting a concrete pole with a metal baseball bat. It doesn't feel like that, but it is noticeable. This might be a tad bit louder than the Mathews, but other than that, as far as from the factory, the grip on this thing may be different for some people, but I did not like it. The rubber grip that comes on this is held on by 2 screws on each side of the riser, and when I would come at full draw and have my hand placed on it, I could feel that grip almost moving on the edges. So that got kind of aggravating, and I was like, I don't really care for that. So I'm probably going to end up just getting me some side plates, putting some side plates on it, but for right now I'm going to shoot off of the riser, which is pretty cool because I've never shot off a riser before, and it's pretty sweet. The significance of this bow to me is kind of cool. I've always loved John Dudley. I've always been a knock-on fanboy. And the arrows, I've always shot his arrows. They're pretty cool. And this being his first Signature Series bow, when he got the PSE, is pretty dang cool for me. I think this bow will probably hold value very well because of that too. I think about that when I go to buy new bows. That and it being super adjustable on the draw lengths. You don't have to take it to a bow press or anything. You can actually go from, I think it's 26 all the way to 31.5 inch draw with this without a bow press. So that's always a huge deal on resale. Somebody can just come up here, hook this up. Obviously their peep's not going to be right, but they can always adjust their draw length to where if they change, a release or something, and they need to change the draw length on it by 1/2 inch, they can do that. It comes in 1/2 inch increments. The other difference between this bow and the Mathews was 80 to 85% let off. This is actually 80 to 85 to 90% let off, and it's set at 90 right now. And 5% may not sound like much, but in the woods, when you're holding at full draw, waiting for a deer to turn or get broadside or get around a tree or something like that, it's a big deal. You start sitting there going like this right here when you're trying to hold something back, So in the heat of the moment, that's going to be pretty sweet, and especially for my long range shooting that I may do in the off season or something like that, where if I'm wanting to shoot out a real long distance, it'll be pretty sweet. The other benefit from this is the cam system on these PSE Evo bows are super smooth. I mean, Mathews doesn't hold a candle to this, like at least the newer Mathews bows. The older ones may, but the newer ones, the VXR, the Vertix, all that kind of stuff, it's no comparison. I mean, it is an amazing draw cycle. I can be super controlled with this in the tree. I can let down very easy and not make any noise. Stuff you take for granted. You look at all these speed bows and how fast they're shooting and all this kind of stuff, which is cool, don't get me wrong, but if you're in a tree, and I shoot sometimes from the sitting down position in my lock-on, and you have to sit there and yank your bow back, I mean, it can make possibly a bunch of noise, and if you have a big mature deer in front of you, they're going to hear that and take off. There's a reason why they've been around for so long. So with this bow, it's super smooth, and I really enjoy that. Really helps my shoulder out. I've got bad shoulders, so kind of helps me out. So show you guys real quick. Go ahead and go full draw for you here. I mean, just super smooth. There's a tad bit of a stack at the very end, a little bit, and the let off on this, like I almost have to push the string forward for the string to go down and for the cam to basically roll back over. So if I'm in the woods and I'm at full draw and realize I'm not going to take a shot or something like that, or I don't have a shot right now or something, and I go to let down, it's going to be super easy, super controlled. So that's pretty sweet. So. And shooting off of this riser is pretty cool. I mean, it fits in my hand very well. As you can see, my peep is way off. So it's like probably about a ½ inch off, so that's good. So show you how it sounds. My target's super close, so if it's kind of hard to tell, I'm sorry. But it's not obnoxiously loud. Doesn't have a whole bunch of shock or anything when you shoot it. It's a really cool bow. I really enjoy it. I love the colors on it. My favorite color being green, just my opinion. But it has the subalpine Sitka limbs, even though that's a little rich for my blood because I do not have Sitka at all. I can't even afford a toboggan from Sitka, much less a jacket and all that good stuff. So maybe the wife will let me do that one of these days. It's really cool to be holding a bow that was designed by John Dudley. I think that is pretty dang cool. So if y'all have any questions for me, feel free to ask in the comments. Looking forward to getting to shooting with this thing. You're going to be seeing a lot of it on social media. So it's pretty sweet. Thank you.